Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? Geoff Mosher alongside Adam Caplan, and the first day of April. So very excited. I know that we're all still. It's a difficult time for everybody involved, and Adam and I are trying to do our part by A, staying at home, and B, entertaining everybody with Inside the Birds podcasts and stories on the website and videos. So this podcast, Adam and I thought, we've got the draft a couple of weeks away. We're going to eventually move into pods that are specifically focused on certain position groups in the draft that we'll go over. We're gathering intel for those podcasts as we speak, but we are going to spend a lot of this podcast talking about a few names that are out there right now that are connected to the Eagles, whether it's rumor mill, whether it's real. We can talk about that. We're also going to get into, now that the bulk of free agency, most of the major free agent signings are done, we'll talk about what the Eagles really need right now to fill out their roster to be ready to compete for another Super Bowl, and we'll get into a few other things as well. But Adam, as I always start off, we have to thank everybody right now who's involved in healthcare, law enforcement, stores that are essential, that are open, teachers, anybody giving their time, their energy, their effort to helping others. We truly appreciate the service from everybody. And, who knows how much longer we're going to have to be doing this, but it could be a while.
Oh, it's going to be a while, Geoff, unfortunately. There's no timeline when our country will get back, and really the world. Our friends in Italy and Spain who are going through this. It's just awful what's happened over there. There's an agent, Buddy Baker. I'm sure, Geoff, if you're not aware, he lost both of his parents.
I saw that.
It's just heartbreaking. That was a tough day. I've known Buddy for years. I love the guy. My heart goes out to him. Please watch the video. It's care for your parents. It's a helpless feeling because when people get sick with this stuff, you can't get close to them.
Right.
It's really a tough deal, man. It's my mom had to leave her community in Florida where she was living in the winter. They closed that down, and thank God my 9-year-old mother is okay. This is what we're doing. A lot of families are doing, Geoff. We had a Zoom meeting.
Nice.
On last Monday. We're going to do it every Monday because here's the thing about what we're all dealing with in the country, all over the world. I don't know when I'll see my family again.
I know. It's rough. It's great, by the way, that you have family members who are the elderly who can use the internet and get on Zoom and have conversation with. So hat tip to Grandma Caplan.
Yeah, my brother Andy, knowing him because he actually, by the way, he used to be in the newspaper business. He was the computer systems guy for Knight Ridder. The Inquirer and Daily News for many years. He looks like Fran Dunphy, by the way. Everyone, Glenn Macno or somebody, one of the guys said, "Oh yeah, your brother looks like Fran Dunphy." Like, yeah, that's him, Andy. So he probably helped my mom set it up.
He could do worse. Fran's a handsome man.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
Yeah. He's my brother's age as well. He might be a little bit older than my brother, but it's cool. So yeah, that's really the only way we can connect now. And thank God for technology, because think about it. If we didn't have the internet, what the hell would we be doing right now? You and I wouldn't have a show.
That's right.
We wouldn't be connecting with our listeners and our viewers when we do the ITV videos and our world, and how would we work? Like, you and I are lucky enough that in my life, the only time I ever worked in an office was when I worked for Model Sporting Goods, because I co-ran a store with another person in the mid-90s and my mid-20s. But I have not worked in an office environment, so it doesn't really impact me as much. But all of my friends, and I'm sure your friends, a lot of guys and ladies who work in office environments, if they're not able to do their job at home, some people are taking furloughs or if they're not needed. So our hearts are out to those people, man. It's this is what we're dealing with as a country right now.
Yeah, I can say, from our vantage point, it's been a pleasure to have people reach out to us, and even in their most unfortunate situations, still kind of asking us when's our next either podcast or story or video coming out, because now that they're home, they're looking for more content to consume. So obviously we do this regardless, but we're happy to be able to provide content, as you mentioned, to help people out in this time. And, so now's a good time to remind people, we've got the podcast that you're listening to right now. We have the InsideTheBirds.com website. I write for it. You write for it. Andrew DeCecco has been a contributor, and he's doing an excellent job of breaking down the tape of players the Eagles have signed. So his most recent one is on Nicole Roby-Coleman. He's got the GIFs. He shows you where Nicole Roby-Coleman excels. He shows you some weak points. That's what we do. Very balanced. It's not just all puff pieces and pro stuff. So Andrew does a great job of that. He also does a great job of doing it with the college prospects and watching their tape. And we're going to have him on a few of these episodes to really get into the guys that are worth watching for the Eagles in the draft down the road. You just recently did, and this is what I think we're doing better now than maybe when we started this thing with hashtag AskITB. We get to a lot of the questions on the podcast. So a lot of our topics, even some of the topics we're going to talk about today, were questions that we got from our listeners. Now, we may not say this came from, Jim on Twitter or Steve on the website or Jennifer from the podcast, but that's because we'll get the same variation of a lot, or the same question from a lot of different people.
Yes.
So,
yes.
But still, we Adam, like I said, go to the InsideTheBirds.com. Adam did a mailbag where he addresses specific questions that people asked either through Twitter, hashtag AskITB, or through the webpage where you can go to our hashtag AskITB bar and ask a question. So it's been a valuable resource for us, and we hope everybody's enjoying it. And like I mentioned, I think, as we move forward into April, we are going to be very NFL draft specific. The NFL has said the draft is going to go on as scheduled, I guess in a virtual manner. And Adam and I are on our phone probably now the next 2 or 3 weeks, pretty hardcore with scouts, with agents, with personnel people, everybody who can help us kind of figure out. Oh,
Geoff,
coaches.
Yeah, so check this out. So obviously I'm not going to tell you the teams, but I had 1 call so far, and I'm going to have 3 by the time we drop the show Sunday morning. I'll probably talk to 5 of them. So I ran into a couple receiver coaches at the Combine, and it's funny. They both mentioned Devin Duvernay. Well, it just so happened we got a question for Ask ITB. So guess what? Mm-hmm. Devin Duvernay, the receiver from University of Texas, led off the ITB, the mailbag, or the hashtag Ask ITB piece for the website. So you'll see my breakdown on him. And 2 coaches gave me it because they were the ones who brought it up. Because I was looking for, it's funny, give me I always ask guys, give me a sleeper no one's talking about. Well, they both mentioned this guy. So that's
helped. The University of Texas receiver, right?
Yes, he's a track guy in high school.
Right.
Quite frankly, Geoff, before his senior season, he would have been drafted late. He was so phenomenal. The smart thing, they moved him to the slot.
Uh-huh.
He's got some serious juice, man. He shouldn't get out of the 3rd round. I wouldn't rule out the 2nd. Certainly he won't. He's no worse than a 3rd round pick. So you'll see our notes up there. And what Geoff and I are doing, we're taking notes from the people we're speaking with. So I've got a couple calls lined up with receivers coaches I know, and we're going to have the way that they see each receiver. And by the way, and I know this for a fact because I got comments from people on Twitter who are not Eagles fans who listen. Mm-hmm. These positional previews that we do, which are going to start next week, yes, they'll have somewhat of an Eagle slant to it. They're not just going to be all Eagle stuff. So if you're not an Eagles fan, for instance, I know we have a lot of believe it or not, because all this Lions scoop I put out the last 2 weeks on Twitter, we've got a bunch of Lions people who sign up for my Twitter account. So
a lot of new Big V fans, Adam.
Yeah, and Big V or all this intel I put out for the Lions. So what's happening is we're getting new subscribers. So these are going to be general overviews of each position. Yes, some will have an Eagle slant, but no matter who you like, you're going to learn about each player and how they fit at the next level. So this fits in. Like everyone knows listening who's an Eagles fan, the Eagles need speed at receiver.
Right.
We're also going to talk about guy like Justin Jefferson. I'm getting more and more and more information on him, how he'll fit in. Like if you're a Raiders fan, that you're probably not going to want him because he's probably going to play slot. They're Aguilar, I know he's on a 1-year deal, and they've got Hunter Renfrow, who they actually absolutely love.
Yep.
I doubt that Jefferson will be drafted by them, only just because I don't think he fits their need for the future. And that's why I wanted to mention that. And then we're going to do a receiver, cornerback show, a safety show, Geoff, maybe a linebacker show.
Yeah, I think we got to get into linebackers because I know I have some info on some linebackers that actually were able to get a visit to the Eagles before all this went down. So
the Wyoming linebacker visited, right?
It was a different one, I believe. So we can get into that a little. Okay. We'll tease the audience and tell them we'll get into that a little bit later.
And then also, Geoff, you do a Phillies show.
Yes.
Tell us about it. I'm a Phillies guy. Mm-hmm. Okay. If they were going on right now, I would be taping every game and replaying. and do what I do with the Sixers. I DVR it. I do half an hour work. I stop. I watch 2 innings and go back. But unfortunately, we're not going to have baseball for months.
Right.
So what are you guys talking about these days? And tell us what it's about.
Yeah, first of all, it's called the Powder Blue Podcast. It's also available on Apple and all the other major podcast platforms. I do it with Hunter Brody, who helps produce this podcast, and you've heard his voice a few times on this pod, and also Frank Close, who works at night with me at 97.3 ESPN. He's the Phillies insider, so he comes on all the time during the baseball season to give us updated on what's going on with the Phillies. And I would say we've been able to we do a once a week pod. It usually comes out either Monday or Tuesday morning. And there's been enough news with whether it's JT Realmuto's contract, whether it's Sir Anthony Dominguez now being, surprise, out for the year with the elbow issue, whether it's these new rules that the Major League Baseball union and the players just came up with on what's going to happen if and when baseball is able to resume. We've been able to kind of keep the topics fresh. And what I really think we're doing for a lot of people, along with ourselves, is helping to kind of cure our baseball withdrawal by talking baseball. Now, sometimes it makes it feel worse because you're still pining for baseball, but in the end of the day, you get to talk a little baseball when there is no baseball. So it's kind of satisfying our baseball appetite a little bit right now.
Good
Now,
stuff,
as for
man.
you,
Yep.
Adam, you're hosting on Sirius XM more so than right?
So 2 things. Every Friday, probably 30 weeks in the year, I host. This is our 17th year. John Hansen and I, fantasy guru. You might know John.
Oh yeah,
He's one of the top fantasy guys. John's. I can't make announcements for him. It's his business, but he's going to be making a major announcement. So follow him at on Twitter. Fantasy. I think it's Fantasy Guru at Fantasy Guru. So John's going to be back doing some stuff. So may or may not be involved. We'll see. But you should definitely follow John if you're into fantasy. This is our 17th year of hosting our Friday show together. He's on 5 days a week on the channel 87. And I'm back on the NFL channel this Saturday, as you listen to this Thursday morning, 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
With you and Zig?
No, this one is usually I do with Zig, but Vic Carucci's with me, the great Vic Carucci.
Man, that's a Hall of Fame pairing right now.
Yeah.
You and Vic Carucci?
Yeah,
that's
I love
great.
Vic. He's a good man. Do you know that he covered the Eagles in the late 70s?
Yeah, I know Vic. Vic's a great dude.
Yeah, great guy. Really is a great guy. So
I don't know how he feels about being next to you, but he's a great dude.
Well, we're not in the same. See, we're not in the same house.
Well, that's a good point. You do have to talk to each other, though.
Yes. So he's in Mr. Buffalo. So, and then, so that's what I'm doing. You got your baseball show.
Yeah.
And it's funny because this, I came within 2 games of predicting the Phillies record last year. I thought they'd be overrated.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought they'd be as good as people thought they would be. People got carried away with Bryce Harper. I'm a huge Harper fan. I'm a huge Rhys Hoskins fan. It broke my heart the way things went down from the second half.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, now that they've got real coaches in there, not a cheerleader, I think things will be better for the Phillies. Now, of course, because we don't know how many games they'll play, I had them for 87 wins this season. I don't know, Geoff. Like, before we move to the Eagles here, what are your thoughts?
Well, one thing we were joking on with the Powder Blue podcast is that we were they tossed around the ideas of before starting up the season having like intra squad type spring training games that were televised or open to some of the public, and would people actually miss baseball so much that they would either go into the stadium if it were safe to watch that? And I said, well, wait a minute. I miss baseball more than anybody. It's my first love, and I still love baseball more than any other sport. But if you're telling me the intra-squad game features Vince Velasquez starting against Nick Pivetta, I'm out.
I'm not going. It's crazy.
I'm not watching that.
I know, and it's funny. I hate preseason football like the rest of us. Who the hell wants it? It's disgusting. But if there's a rookie that I want to see, I'll be honest with you. I tape every single preseason game I tape. Because I have to be aware of what's going on, and I have to be able to, because I'm doing all this radio, I have to know what's going on with all 32 teams.
Right.
But what I do is, because when the starters are playing, I probably won't watch because I know who they are as a player. It's the sleeper guys I got to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
On both, if I'm not aware of it, then I'm like, oh shit, I can't talk about it because I don't know who these guys are. I have to call someone, but.
Caplan curse number 1. This is going to be a great pod.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, people seem to like that when I curse. Okay,
I'm telling you.
Have you cursed?
And it's an automatic extra 1,000 listeners.
Have you cursed yet?
Not yet. I don't think the effect is the same. For some reason, I don't think people anticipate you cursing.
Say sugar. No, it's so funny because on ESPN, people said I was way too serious.
Uh-huh.
On the show that I do with John Hansen, we're not really supposed to curse. Like in the first year of NFL radio, we're serious when I was on there in 2004.
Uh-huh.
We weren't like the rules were a little bit looser. Now they're way more strict. You really don't, unless you're on the Stern show, you don't really curse.
Right.
Or maybe, I doubt they're on the Mad Dog channel they curse. But anyway, it's just kind of funny that people.
Mad Dog never needed to curse. I mean, he was, Mad Dog undistilled is you don't even need any F-bombs. I mean, he's crazy enough as
although it's funny when he was on the Stern show, I think he did curse a little bit.
Oh, did he?
Maybe Howard Howard egged him on, but who knows?
Did he pronounce it correctly?
Yeah. Oh my God! And by the way, before you get to the Eagles, because I'm sorry, folks, I'm laughing. I love the little interaction. It was me and a couple people following me a couple weeks ago. You know how in Philadelphia, for some reason, people put an extra S on a word, a player's name.
It's Dante Samuels.
Right, exactly. Alshon Jeffries. So here's the funny thing. Most people, in fact, you wouldn't know unless you saw me do it. I know Chase Daniel a little bit. For some stupid reason, when I put a couple scoops out on him, I put Chase Daniels. Well, Charlie Daniels. I don't know. I just put an S on there. I forgot.
Right.
I just forgot. And I got skewered, when it happened 3 years ago. And then Chase actually went on Twitter. He goes, dude, there's no S. I was just so funny. I'm like, I wanted to mute him after that. I was so embarrassed, but it's funny. I love when people do that, put S's on got people's names. It's funny.
If you ever get the opportunity,
yeah,
you have got to find the audio of Chris Russo, Mad Dog, trying to pronounce Asdrubal Cabrera's name. You will not find
a former Philly, by the way,
former everything, basically. Yeah. But you will not find a more butchered name available on the internet.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
You found it?
Yep.
Or you've heard it already?
No. Mike Francesa trying to pronounce Matt Vasgersian.
Now, I've heard that one. I can tell you I've heard them both.
The worst I've ever heard.
That's because you have not yet heard Russo trying to do Asdrubal Cabrera. He tried it 10 times.
Asdrubal Cabrera, right?
At least 10 times. He could, to the point where he got to Acrubal Cabrera. It was really bad.
See, I use my hand when have you met my friend Jerry Madelon, who was my performance coach at ESPN?
I know who he is. I don't know if we've ever met.
G-Matt's the best. So he taught me how to use my hands because hands get me to my next point. As I do this now, I'm using them. So when I try to get the name right, when it's a couple syllables, I'll go Geoff Mosher, Alan Chaplin, my fake name. I have to use my hand because it gets me through it. Like Matt Vasgersian. I thought that wasn't hard. It doesn't sound like it's pronounced. That's the problem with this stuff. You don't know sometimes when you look at someone's name how to pronounce. Is Mike Tannenbaum? Adam Shine calls him Tannenbaum. I think it's Tannenbaum. I need to ask Mike that. Who knows? Anyway, let's get it started. We've wasted people's time.
All right. Before we get started, Adam, I want to let people know something real quick about our friends at DraftKings. No sports, no problem. DraftKings Sportsbook has an endless amount of casino games to play from the comfort and safety of your own home. And right now, all first-time casino players on DraftKings Sportsbook can get up to $200 to play risk-free for the first 24 hours after downloading and signing up. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and find the casino games in the top navigation bar to start playing. Games, you want games? Choose from slots, blackjack, roulette, live dealer games, and more. DraftKings is a legal, safe, and secure gaming app. You can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Plus, DraftKings has a new promotion every day, so be sure to check the app daily. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB to play up to $200 of casino games risk-free. That's promo code ITB to play up to $200 risk-free for your first 24 hours of casino play on DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older to play. New Jersey only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Can I add something on DraftKings? Two things.
Yes, you may.
I got my check. I cashed out. It took me just 1 week to get it.
Nice.
Their app is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. I live in Pennsylvania, and we now can gamble, as you know, and it's fantastic. It downloaded easily. I have a Google Pixel 3 XL. I'm not an Apple guy like most human beings, but it's a great app, I got to tell you.
Love it. All right, let's get into some of the rumors, Adam, that have kind of percolated this week.
Yes.
We can move past the whole Sammy Watkins thing. We addressed that last podcast, and we can get to some other ones. First, actually, I don't even want to start with a rumor. I would love to get your take on Jadeveon Clowney, who has not been linked to the Eagles this offseason, at least not that I've seen, but still a free agent. This is one of the rare cases of a guy that good being still free this deep into free agency.
Yeah, the reason why, Geoff, the Eagles are not on him, look, they had a chance to acquire him last year. They decided not to. It's not that they didn't make a call. And Clowney, by the way, is only 27. He just turned 27 in February. It's really the injury history. He's, believe it or not, through 6 seasons, he's only played 1 full season. He had the sports hernia. I'm sorry, it's Dr. Myers would tell me, call it the right thing. Sports muscle core injury. He came to Philly, to see whether they needed surgery. The fact of the matter is, you can't pay a guy $20 million a year, which I'm told what he wanted. One GM told me he thinks he won't get more than $15 million a year. This GM, by the way, said his team, and by the way, this team does not need a DN. He predicted that he'll get a deal that averages no more than $15 million a year if he gets more than a 1-year deal. He said, look, you just can't pay a guy that's had this kind of injury history. He said, look, if you're a team that's really close and you think you need him, you know what, you may want to bring him in for 1 year at maybe a higher number, or structure it with per game roster bonuses where you have a little bit of leverage here. And he needs to understand, we'll pay you $20 million, but we're only going to pay you $20 million if you play 60 games, where you give him $200 grand per game that he plays to get it up to $20 million. If you only want to pay him 13 or 40, whatever you want to do to get him up there. Yeah. But this guy's a risk. Good player, no problems off the field. Pretty chill guy. I'm talking to the Seahawks and my Texan sources on him. The Eagles were never in on him. It's not happening. I would think if they're ever going to get involved, and would be Ngakoue, it certainly would not be Clowney.
So, that was the thing I was wondering this week, though, is how willing that Clowney would be to maybe to basically do what Alshon Jeffrey did in 2017 when he signed with the Eagles, and that was bet on himself for a year for the better of making a bigger contract either the following year or getting an extension. Do you sense that Clowney's camp is willing to do that? Because that's a risk for that kind of guy because he's been hurt so much.
I would if I think Bus Cook has him. If Bus and I were teammates on this thing, I'd say, look, we're not going to get him $20 million. We're probably not going to get $18 million. Let's go back to Seattle. Let's take a big time 1-year deal. Let's get as much upside as we can. Mm-hmm. Get it up to $20 million if we can. That's what I would do. But I'm not an agent, and I'm not Clowney or Bus Cook. So I think your point's fair because, look, it only takes one team to like a player. John Robinson, the GM of the Titans, actually went on record saying he likes him. I've talked to the Seahawks about him. They'd love to have him back. They have a number that they're willing to pay him. Clowney, that he's available. I didn't think it would take this long, Geoff, to be honest with you. I'm a little surprised that he's still out there. Mm-hmm. But look, it's buyer beware. The one thing I'm really noticing, if you go through free agency and you look at the guys who have signed, very few guys with injury histories got a market deal. That's the thing. That's probably the most noticeable thing as I went through every signing. I mean, really, Melvin Gordon, who's had a pretty significant injury history, got a nice deal, nothing special.
Right.
I'll say this, though. Todd Gurley, his agent, Ari Nissim's done a phenomenal job. But my God, he's going to make between $10 and $11 million this year, Todd Gurley?
Yeah, but isn't that's from the Rams, right?
Partially the Rams, but right. Total compensation.
Right.
Not only is it the best running back contract in NFL history, it's probably one of the best contracts I've ever seen, his deal with the Rams. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a great deal at the time. I didn't quite understand how great it was.
Well,
oh my God, with this running back position, now you see, Geoff.
Yes.
Why Joe Banner was so ahead of the market and not paying running backs. The only guy he really paid is Brian Westbrook. He paid him. He did the right thing by Brian. He, late in Brian's career, and unfortunately, just didn't work out. But
right.
You got to be careful of paying running backs. I mean, what you do is you let the market play out. You let the guy, if he's great, You let the guy play his contract out, and then franchise him twice. Oh, if he's healthy after 6 years,
right,
then go pay him.
Yeah, and Howie did the right thing with Shady McCoy because he extended him as soon as he possibly could while McCoy was still young. McCoy was always the type of player who didn't take that many hits because he was always eluding tacklers, getting out of bounds, things like that. And you saw with LaShawn McCoy, he was worth. I mean, Chip got him out of town as fast as possible and tried to say it was a salary thing, and we all know that wasn't true. But for how he paid him, that contract was fine.
Yeah, and look, Shady was a tremendous football player. I mean, he's just about the end of the line here. Mm-hmm. And we'll before we get out here, we're going to go over what they still need going to the draft with 3 weeks left. But I'd say with Clowney, it's he's probably one of the bigger names out there, and we just outlined why. And then with Ngakoue, look, multiple sources tell me the Eagles certainly have interest in him. Good player. He's so much better than anything that they have. He's a speed rusher. He's certainly better than Barnett. Barnett, this is a huge year for him. His fifth-year option's due by May 2nd. I'm sure Eagles will roll it over because it's still on the old. Remember, that contract is under the old CBA, so that it's not fully guaranteed when they roll it over. It's only guaranteed for injury. But look, it's a situation where the Eagles are okay with the cap. My understanding is it's a little bit less than the number that's out there. I think it's around $26 million that they have. Mm-hmm. They're in fine cap shape. That's not the issue. The issue is what we talked about in the last show. Man, their cap numbers for 2021, so many of them go up. Wentz's goes up significantly for next year,
right?
Because it was option bonus. A lot of numbers are going up. I never say never with the Eagles. I just know this. He's so much better than anything that they have, and we love Brandon Graham, but he's up there. Mm-hmm. 2021 should be his last year. Roseman does a pretty good idea. He does a good job of forecasting the future, of understanding where the market's going, and also who could be the foundation of the football team. And Ngakoue, by the way, he's a great kid.
Yeah. I'm sure he's ticking the Jags off right now, but he is a
well, look, it's not Dave Caldwell's fault. It's Tom Coughlin's fault.
That's correct.
It was Tom Coughlin who made the call. Tom had control. He had personnel control from 17 through 19. Caldwell made that pick. That was his pick in 2016. Mm-hmm. I'm sure, knowing Dave, it would pain him to trade him. But let's be realistic. The kid's made it clear he doesn't want to play there anymore. He wants out. Just follow him on Twitter. By the way, he's a pretty good Twitter follow. And yes, folks, he wants to go to the Eagles. Why? I don't know how he knows this. I mean, his agent's pretty damn good, so maybe his agent knows something. I don't know, but
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how the hell else is he finding out? I mean, how the hell would he know? I don't know.
Tweeting pictures of Reggie White.
Right. But no. Now he's from Maryland, area, I think, right? So maybe he went. Yeah, maybe that's part of it. Who knows? But anyway, nothing going on. The Jags don't want to trade him. I mean, that's I know that from multiple people. But you know what? The situation is this: when a guy doesn't want to play for you, and he's made it very clear, and he says he's not showing up. Now, I don't know exactly what he's told Caldwell or the Jaguars, but when the guy said he don't want to be there, it's made it clear publicly and privately. One thing I want to add, people are saying, oh, no, he's killed the leverage. No, he hasn't. I was told he's a top 10. I was told by one team, if he had to enter the draft now, he's a top 10 pick. Not even remotely close, could be top 5. That's how good he is.
Wow.
He's a speed rusher. There aren't many like him. Yeah, he's not the biggest guy, but Geoff, he could get off.
Yeah, no, he can. And I don't measure everything in sacks, but it's not like he's had 1 year where he had 12 sacks. Every other year is 9.5. It's not like he's put out J.J. Watt kind of numbers. So I'm surprised to hear that he'd be a top 5 or a top 10 pick.
Oh, yeah, top 10. But what I had heard top 10 for, and I think it's partially because other than Chase Young, how many DNs are going to go in the top 10?
That's a good point.
Let's say if he were a receiver, different story. He may not go in the top 10.
Right. This is not. You're right. It's not a great pass rusher draft.
Right.
That's
right.
Edge rusher draft.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's on Ngakoue. I know a couple people asked me on Twitter. My sense is from talking to teams, their impression is they're not willing to move him now. They're not even listening to offers. Once Caldwell's ready to listen to offers, this bleep is getting done, and they're not. There's simply no way they're taking less than a first round pick. People thought I was out of my mind when I said that a month ago on Twitter. Folks, I'm telling you, because of the respect that other teams have for this player, they'll get a first-round pick. That's not going to be the problem. The problem is, what are you getting in return that you know is going to help your football team? And if they don't get a trade done, Geoff, by the draft, what are they going to want for next year? Because then you're not getting anything until next year's compensation unless you're getting a player for this year. So that's what we got on Ngakoue.
Right. How about Brandin Brandin Cooks, who, it's funny, we talk about this all the time. He's a receiver that the Eagles wanted coming out of the draft that year, and obviously the Saints were the one team that moved up and got him ahead of them. There's a lot of buyer beware with him. There's the injuries. There's the contract. He still would be the best player, best wide receiver that the Eagles have if they have him. You have to think that I just wonder what it would take to get him, because I wouldn't give up a lot.
With no trade for him, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, they're not. He won't. The Eagles will not be trading for him. That's my opinion based on some pretty good intel. Let's put it this way: his base salary became fully guaranteed on March 22nd. It's $8 million. Folks, they had no interest in signing Robbie Anderson for what he got. They weren't going to sign Brashad Perriman. Why would they sign a guy who's coming off significant injury issues? Or why would they trade for a guy? Now, if he were released, which is not going to happen because they just get fully guaranteed his deal, they're not going to do that. But if they did, if by the miracle they got released, it's a different story. Here's what happened in 2014. I reported this 6 years ago. God, I cannot believe it's been that long. But here's what happened. They were going to draft him. The Saints knew it. They traded up. They trade up to number 20 in front of the Eagles. Their next pick, the next guy they wanted, went at 21. Clinton Dix.
Yep. I know Mosley went in that draft as well. I'm trying to think of the guys.
Mosley went at 17, right? But the two that I know, because I got it from multiple team sources, were Cooks was their guy by far, no questions asked. That's who they wanted. Then Clinton Dix, and it's probably a good thing they didn't get Clinton Dix because he's not been the player. He was all hyped because he came out of Alabama. He's never been the player people thought.
Yeah.
I don't recall because I don't have my notes exactly from that draft in terms of, I just remember reporting that it was going to be Cooks.
Now,
and
isn't that the draft that they then decided to move down with Cleveland, traded up for Johnny Manziel, and then the Eagles came out with Marcus Smith?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And
so in the end, I think I'd still take Clinton.
Ready for this one? Ready for this one? So I'm on my show was NFL Insiders on ESPN. That was the show that I was on, and I reported that the Eagles were hot for Marcus Smith, and I didn't, I was shocked because I had heard he was a second round guy, but what wound up happening is the Eagles tried to trade out of that pick, but they could not trade down far enough that I think if the Eagles were being honest with everyone, he should have gone in the early 30s. But they couldn't trade down far enough to think they could get him. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Obviously, it was a bad miss. There was some finger pointing, as you know, Geoff, with that pick.
Yeah,
that's what tends to happen with Chip Kelly and all the crap that was going on there in 2014.
Right.
But it didn't work out for them. But it's just funny. 6 years later, Brandin Cooks is available. The Rams would love to give him away because they're trying to move money and salary. They've got let me answer because I know people. It's not been discussed a lot, and you touched on some of it. His contract. Well, why would the Rams want to get rid of a guy who's a good football player? He had concussion issues, but he's been pretty durable. Other than that, well, here's why. Cooper Kupp is a terrific, maybe the NFL's best slot receiver. Terrific football player. He's eligible for an extension. Josh Reynolds has been a great story as a backup receiver, number 83. He's one of the better backup receivers. They also have a cap issue. This was not expected. And by the way, they want to extend Jalen Ramsey. They'd like to at some point.
Right. They want to pay Ramsey, and they also don't have a lot of picks. I mean, they gave up 2 first-round picks to get Ramsey. I think they gave up picks to get Marcus Peters from the Chiefs the year before that. So they're a team that has a lot of high salaries and need to build around cheap labor and don't even have the picks to be able to do that.
Right, and if you're Brandin Cooks, why the hell would you take a pay cut? Some people saying, "Well, to trade, maybe he'll take a pay cut." No, he's not. He has 8. It's like why would Alshon Jeffrey take less than his $7.45 million that the Eagles owe him? Why would they do? Why would he do that? I just kind of got it. I kind of got a chuckle out. People said he should do an injury settlement. No, it doesn't work like that. You don't take an injury settlement. You take an injury settlement when you don't have guaranteed money. Where you go, look, they could cut me and I get nothing, so I must well take an injury settlement.
Right.
No, you wouldn't take less of the money that you're owed unless there's some way they can make it up to you. No, it just doesn't work that way. So, and by the way, he has a $4 million roster bonus, I believe, that is protected by injury, which the Rams, by the way, would be. I think that was due in March. So They're responsible for that. The team that gets him is only responsible for the $8 million, not the proration and not the roster bonus in a trade. So the proration never goes with the new team. It always stays with the team that has him. His cap number, Geoff, is unbelievable. Take a guess what his cap number is.
I think I saw it was like 15 million.
16.8 million.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, come on.
Well,
man.
I mean, we laugh at that, but what do you think the cap number is for Alshon?
I know. It's look, it is what it is. So no. Who the hell would trade? Like, Peter King's a friend of mine. I love the guy, but does he? And I read his column. I read him every Monday morning quarterback. But to think that anyone would trade for him, I mean, that would be almost a miracle. Even if the Rams get a 7th round pick. Dumping that money is what they want to do. It's just not happening. No.
Well, what if you gave up a low pick? Say you gave up a 5th round pick for him, and then took the contract. He's owed 15 mil, and broke it up. Or, you gave him a new contract that makes sure he gets 15 million. But you, as a franchise, can spread that over 3, 4, or 5 years and reduce your cap hit per year.
Or no, you can do what the Browns did: is take up Brock Osweiler. Remember when it's sort of like you could. Or you convince you get
a pick with it,
or what the who the hell did it last year? Oh, the Clowney trade, where the Seahawks got an unbelievable deal. The Texans paid some of his salary,
right?
Yeah, now that's a different story. If you can get the Rams to half it, I'll take Brandin Cooks for $4 million. Sure as hell, I'm not going to take it for $8 million. No, that $4 million is fully guaranteed. There's nothing. He has no guarantee. There's no guaranteed money after the season. But the problem is, he's young. He's still a young guy at 27, which he turns later this year. That the age is not the problem. You got to get through the concussion stuff. That's a concern. And the other thing is, Geoff, why has he been traded so much?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I remember when he left New Orleans. They had just drafted Mike Thomas, and Mike Thomas had a really good year that year. And Brandon had, I guess, not endeared himself there at that point to Peyton by saying he wanted the ball a little bit more. Remember, the Saints were kind of still building up. They weren't what they are right now. And I think that got him kind of shipped out of town. But ever since then, and even before that, there were never any character red flags that I had heard about. And it seems like he's been fine where he's been since. But it's I guess when you look at the height, or lack thereof, I should say, and the injury history, the concussions and everything, and the money that he's owed or wants, then it becomes a situation where people would rather move on, especially this year, right? I mean, you have so many receivers coming out of this year's draft.
That's correct.
That it's not going to be a mad race to go get Brandin Cooks.
Yeah, look, they're not going to cut him. There's zero chance it happens. There's not. Because, by the way, you don't get offset credits until the following season. So, no, obviously they're not going to cut him. By the way, the dead money is absurd. The dead money is $17.8 million. Right. Obviously, you could post June 1 it, but they're not doing that. I mean, that's just not that. That would be another one where you go. It just doesn't make any sense. Kevin Demoff does a really good job with contracts. He's the president and also oversees contracts. It's just not what he does.
Right.
So that's it for these rumors.
Well, I got one more.
You do? Go ahead.
And what we talked about. But before we do that, I want to thank our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, continuing to enhance the fan experience with their coverage of the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers, the Flyers. They do podcasts. They give you content at a time where we're all starving for sports content. So make sure you check out PHLSportsNation.com. Well, we thank them for being great affiliates of Inside the Birds. What I want, the one I want to get to you is more of a draft one than a free agent one, Adam. And it's something we've kind of talked about in the past, but there's probably more info on it. Now, I remember at the Combine, when we did our video, I think, I remember saying that I must have spoken to 3 or 4 people involved with other teams who felt that Howie Roseman was going to make a big play to go up in the draft to get Henry Ruggs. And then I remember about a week and a half later, I said on the podcast, I was speaking with somebody from another team that knows the Eagles well, and he said he doesn't think, he was disagreeing with the rest of the, kind of what the league sentiment was. He said, I don't think Howie's going to move up. I think he's going to sit pat and see what's available there at 21. And I remember saying that's kind of an interesting take. Now, this is now several weeks forward. There's still a lot of people that think the Eagles would move up to get to Ruggs. And I know that you've kind of looked into it yourself and you kind of have an opinion on that matter.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see them trading up. They've been waiting. Their scouting staff, personnel staff, Roseman, Howie will make the call on draft day. They've been waiting several years to have a lot of picks. They just moved 2 of them. They went from 10 to 8. This is a big draft for them. Before we close the show, we're gonna go into their needs as we speak. We definitely need to do that. I don't see it at all. I just don't. Folks, this is not fantasy football. You have to be very careful. Geoff just said this is an historic draft. This is not just media hype. This is actually what real NFL people think, coaches and executives. Yes, it's the first tier 3 guys. Now, if they got within 2 or 3 picks, one of these 3 kids, I think they might be in business, kind of like they were with Dillard last year. That's highly unlikely to happen. We will find out closer. Folks, just so you know, no matter what you hear from rumor people and draft nicks and all that nonsense, they have no idea who the Eagles are going to draft. They go, oh, I'm hearing they really like this guy. Well, they might have talked to a scout. Scouts do not make decisions. They have no idea what the Eagles are going to do. I've covered this business for 21 years. You cannot believe how much bullshit is out there. That's why I'm not a rumor guy. I'm a fact guy. When I put something out there, the team wants the player. So does Geoff. Geoff doesn't put shit out there that's nonsense. You guys know who've been with us from the beginning. We're serious about what we fucking do. This is why I'm real passionate about this bullshit that's out on the internet. I don't deal with it. I get it, fans. I get it. I support you, the hunger. That's why you love our show. That's why we love you. But I'm not into the bullshit rumors about throwing shit out there and okay, let's go confirm it. I don't do that. I'm a professional journalist. So is Geoff. I get it. Once in a while, these people who don't cover the NFL get something right. Why don't you check their record? About 4 of every 100 fucking things he put out there is right. I don't do that shit.
We have we got 4 curses in this. And this is an all-time record.
Right. I just want people to understand that it's not fair to Geoff or I. It's really bad for people who are not journalists who are trying to get in our business to not respect the business. I started the hard way. I paid for myself for 10 years to go to the Combine and Senior Bowl. I went through the ranks. Geoff and I worked our way up in journalism. For people to embarrass our business who are not journalists and throw shit out there that not only is irresponsible, think about it when people put out rumors out there that are not true, then the agent has to tell the player's beside himself, because I've had to go through this. I've been yelled at when I've been right. Think about it when you're not right and you're not a reporter. And you don't report to anyone. These little fake draft sites put stuff out there, Geoff.
Yeah.
It's really awful. I feel bad for these agents who have to call teams. Hey, is this true? And then the general manager has to call the player when it's not true. It's a shame. I'm real passionate about it. I'm not going to apologize for anything I just said.
No, you shouldn't. And what you're basically saying, Adam, I guess, is that Zach Ertz is not getting traded for Julio Jones. Is that what you're saying?
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
That when I blogged, I would do responsible rumor stuff. I'd say, hey, it would make sense if the Eagles or whatever team I was covering, or when I worked for fanball.com, I was a news editor, I might write a column, hey, here are the 5. It's just like a lot of bloggers do. They'll go, hey, what? And if you cover the Rams, here are the 5 teams
that make sense, right?
For Brandin Cooks. There's nothing wrong with it. You should be doing that.
Right.
But you also should be smart enough not to put a column out. Like, if you're going to talk about Kenny Golladay, folks, Kenny Golladay is one of the best young receivers in the National Football League. I'm not going to address that when people ask me about Kenny Golladay, because think before you speak.
Yeah.
Why the hell?
I didn't see that one, by the way. Was that
someone asked me about Golladay? I don't know, but someone asked me about it on Twitter, and I muted the guy. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. If I could throw in, because somebody asked us this, so we can answer a question through the website. No, I'm sorry. It was a comment on one of the reviews that we got. It was a positive review, but the person who wrote the review said that you and I tend to refer to our sources very often when we're giving information, and it's not necessary because this listener says he already knows that we are good reporters with good sources.
Point taken. Appreciate that.
Yeah, okay. Appreciate that. But what I want to say to that person is that you and I on this podcast do a lot of giving intel from sources, but then we also give a lot of our own personal analysis based on our experiences as analyst reporters in this league. And I would never want my analysis, my opinion, my feeling on something be conflated with what I'm actually reporting. And I'm sure you wouldn't want either, because then you get into a situation where the bloggers we're talking about out there, Adam Caplan says Eagles are never trading for Brandin Cooks or Yannick Ngakoue. And so we didn't say that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's another thing. Yeah. By the way, so someone's. Thank you. Geoff, someone said, I said on Twitter that the Eagles didn't do a good job on the Darius Slay contract. I said to the guy, I said, dude, go back and listen.
Yeah.
I said the Eagles actually got a pretty good deal because they got a discounted deal because he had 1 year left on his deal. He got an extension.
Right.
He got 1 + 3. The 1 year left on his deal plus 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I said the only thing that surprised me is that they fully guaranteed Rodney McLeod's deal in the second year. That surprised me because you know what that tells us, folks? I forgot to add this on the last show. There's really, I'm not saying they're going to, like, even if Rodney has a bad year, they want, because this is what the way it's explained to me, why Rodney's back. There's so much traffic that's going to go around in their secondary because so much that's going on with the new players and the adjustments that they're going to make with the new coaches and scheme.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone who's experienced back there. So I get it. My reaction when I got the contract breakdown was like, why the hell did they do this? Like, why would they do that? Because I'm like everyone else. But man, did they really do this? Why'd they do it? So that's that.
Yeah. So to answer those questions, that's why we constantly refer to sources, is because we don't want our opinion, which we give a lot of that too, to be mixed with intel. We want to be able to clearly separate. So we have to say this and such and such came from people we spoke to. Whereas when we say, hey, this is my gut feeling on it, then it's just something that Adam or I might feel based on
an opinion.
Experiences.
Right.
Yeah, or an opinion.
Hey, folks, I try to separate opinion from sourcing or reporting. But what I was saying about blogging, though, and the thing that I learned early on, just be responsible. For the people who are bloggers or listening, I appreciate all of you because I started like that. I just was very careful not to throw crap out there that not only didn't happen or wasn't going to happen. Think about who you're getting it from. Like the one that our friend Mike Kay had to shoot down about, there was some trade being worked out for Ngakoue, the Eagles and Dolphins, or some other crap, which was totally made up.
Mm.
So the kid who put it out there clearly got an opinion from somebody who might have got it secondhand from someone who works for the Eagles.
Right.
Think about it before you put it out there. That's all I'm saying, because it's really embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Because now what you have to do is that kid has ruined his, like, people remember the stuff. It goes up on Cold Heart, the dude who finds that stuff that's really
freezing
stupid.
Cold takes.
Right. That's you're going to hurt your career, kids. So I get it, but be careful because you're going to hurt yourself if you put stuff that's not going to happen.
Good words to live by. You had mentioned we want to go through some of the positions that the Eagles still need to address now that the major part of free agency is over. So let's do that. But first, let's pause real quick for a word from our great sponsors. Hey, it's Geoff Mosher. Adam Caplan and I love using Anchor for our Inside the Birds podcast every week. It's so user-friendly, anyone can create their own podcast, and you should too. Just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Anchor gives you everything you need to start your own podcast from your phone or computer. Its creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast for a professional sound, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you to Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so many other platforms. It can be heard by everyone, just like Inside the Birds. You can also make money from your pod with no minimum listenership. What are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to create your podcast today. The Earn Your Leisure podcast, hosted by Rashard Bilal and Troy Millings, examines the latest trends in finance. Listen as the duo interviews entrepreneurs from various industries as they break down their business models and share some of their hardships and triumphs that they've experienced along the way. Want to learn about the real estate game? Unclear how the stock market works? They gotcha. Interested in starting a truck company, vending machine business, or investing in the mobile home market? Then check them out as they've got you covered. Earn Your Leisure is a college business class mixed with pop culture. So if you want to become better equipped in business, head over to Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and follow the Earn Your Leisure podcast today so you never miss an episode. All right, Adam, as we look at what the Eagles have yet to address in free agency, we know wide receivers. We've talked about that. But we've talked about backup quarterback. They did bring back Nate Sudfeld, but we'll have to see if they do like what they did last year, which is get yet another veteran in there. Obviously, the offensive line. Obviously, even the defensive line, with all those numbers, that there's a little bit of fluidity there going on.
Yeah, with backup quarterback, now correct me if I'm wrong, they signed McCown. Well, I know they called McCown in March, that I know was a fact, last March, to see where he's at if he wanted to come back. But remember, they didn't sign him until
Sudfeld got hurt.
Well, he also retired. Right,
yeah.
he worked for ESPN for a couple months, and then the Eagles called him when Nate broke his wrist. Look, what we reported on our show is correct. They have interest in Flacco. They have interest in bringing Josh back. Not a secret. I think they talked to Josh after the season, like maybe his exit interview. I know they had interest in bringing him in as a coach if he retires. But now here's my issue with that. They've hired so many coaches, Geoff. How the hell do you find a spot for him? Is there anything I know that you can make up any kind of title for someone, but maybe as an analyst or something. But
wait, they don't have an assistant wide receivers coach, Adam.
Oh, and didn't I read something that he was helping some of the receiver? Was he chipping in?
Yeah, last year there was a big deal about how he was helping the younger wide receivers.
Oh, don't forget he played receiver for the Lions a little bit, which I didn't know about until someone tweeted it, and I thought it was really cool. And by the way, I did unmute the guy who asked me about Galladay.
Okay,
and I just didn't even want to answer. I was like, "Come on, dude, you know better than that." I mean, you're only talking about one of the best young receivers in the NFL. Now, if it got out there 2 years from now that he's on the block, different story. But they're not trading Kenny Galladay. Oh my God, no, hell no. Yeah, so that's quarterback. Offensively, receiver, people have asked about what they're going to do with veterans, and I wrote about this in our hashtag ITB answer questions. I just feel, as I wrote about, they're going to have to do something with a veteran. You got to have to do based on it. This is some good stuff from our listeners. Two people are basically the same thing to us. What will they do after the draft if they don't have any? If they don't have a veteran signed by the draft, are they really going to go into training camp without an offseason with just rookie receivers? I'm like, I agree with it. How can you do that?
I still feel like that there's some kind of receiver they're going to wind up picking up that we're just not thinking of.
Well, I went through the list. I'm looking at my Excel file.
Well, it could be someone who's not even been cut yet.
Right. Example. Well, that's another part. But look, Demaryius Thomas, forget it. Older player, injuries last year in his 30s. I'm told they don't want Paul Richardson, who's the best speed guy. Taylor Gabriel can run, but he's smaller. He's more of a slot guy. I don't know if they want to do that.
David Devin Smith under contract still with the Cowboys?
Yes.
Okay.
Jordan Matthews, forget it. Russell Shepard, who started his career with the Eagles, I don't see that.
He's going to be an agent.
Russell Shepard.
Yeah.
What's he wanted? He wants to be an agent, really?
Yeah. He was at the combine. I remember seeing him at the agents meeting.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Russell Shepard? Oh, with Brian Overstreet. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Am I right about it? You just found out yourself?
I don't know anything about it. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool. Justin Hardy's out there as like a fourth receiver. You know who's out there who was not tendered?
Who?
And I'll have to ask, Marcus Johnson.
Oh, the former Eagle.
Yeah.
Who went to Seattle along with a 5th-round pick for Michael Bennett.
Wow. Who was he traded up? Wait, who was the guy? Oh, the Cody Parkey trade was what? Was he Cody Parkey traded?
No, that was like David.
Oh, David Fluellen. Right. Fluellen. Right. There's really nothing out there. Dontrell Inman, who doesn't run very well, is out
what
there.
What about JJ Nelson? He's a speeder. He's
what?
Right?
You know what? I'm told they had some interest in him. He's actually technically a street free agent. He didn't play with anyone last season. Remember, the Raiders told me that he just could not stay healthy, and they moved on.
Right.
He can run, and I know the Eagles a couple months ago had interest in him. It's kind of dying on the vine. I don't know is he like in a missing? Like, is he MIA? Like, what has happened to that guy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's Dorial Green Beckham?
Oh my God! I was there that day. Can you believe? What are the chances I would be at Titans camp?
Yeah.
And it's funny. He's running like 4th string. I'm like, man, this guy's probably not going to be here long. And he got traded that day. I thought for sure the Eagles robbed him though, because Dennis Kelly. I was like, come on, Dennis Kelly.
Yeah.
Hell, what a trade that was. That was an incredible
for the Titans.
Yeah. Oh my God. I think he's back with them. He's going to compete against Ty Sombrilo for the right tackle job. Wow, what a trade that was. But no, you're right, Geoff.
I'm proud to say that I ripped that trade when it happened, and I
did too.
Right.
Wait.
No, I ripped the Eagles.
Yeah, but Dennis Kelly was just like
it wasn't. I wasn't ripping the actual trade itself. I was ripping the idea that they were going to be the team that got through to Dorial because they started him right away.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
I felt their whole approach to getting him on the field was
okay. Could you name? Okay, you're right. Could you name the receivers who they opened up the season with in 2016. You won't believe it.
Yeah, well, they had Jordan Matthews.
Yeah.
They had
who do they have in
Paul
camp?
Turner.
Okay.
What's
Okay,
that?
who do they? Yeah, Paul. I'm gonna the ones I had. It's funny you bring this up because I was
Bryce
looking
Driggs.
at it. It's unbelievable. This is why they couldn't win year one. You ready for this one? Here's what they open up training camp with: Chris Givens, who never played after the Eagles cut him. I don't think.
Yeah, they cut him too. Cut him and the former Giant Reuben Randall.
Well, you got it. Damn, you got that.
Oh, come on,
Josh Huff.
Josh Huff.
And this one was and it's funny. I met this kid at the Senior Bowl, I think it was. The immortal T.J. Graham. Remember T.J. Graham?
I do remember the immortal T.J. Graham, yeah.
And your boy Paul Turner, and people killed me over, but I was right. I said he can't run. He'll never make it. He never made it. But he was a training camp superstar. He caught everything. He just couldn't run.
Now, was Rasheed Bailey also a candidate?
Rasheed's a friend of mine, man. I haven't talked to him in a while. He
Del Val?
No, Chip cut him, and the Eagles did bring him back one offseason, and he didn't get out of it. But he absolutely won a job. They told him to stay around, and Chip wasn't telling the truth. He never brought him back.
Oh, man. That's a shock. Chip didn't tell the truth?
Well, no. I think he meant – Marcus Johnson, by the way, was the other guy in July of 2016 who opened training camp with him.
Right.
But Chip meant well, but he didn't follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Krause, who they got from the Patriots.
Oh, by the way, we can't forget they did have Nelson Aguilar that year. He just wasn't very good.
Right. He got off, and Jordan Matthews, who you said. Selleck was still there. Ertz. Dylan Gordon, who was you remember Dylan Gordon, who was a backup guard, and they got some snaps.
Yeah.
And Chris Pantelli at tight end.
I remember Chris Pantel.
Yeah,
I remember him from he was with the Bears the year before that.
Is that right? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. Another guy that Chip said he really liked.
Yeah. So now that I pissed people off cursing, I apologize for cursing, folks.
No, I'm telling you that was 4,000 extra listens right now for curses.
I think I had 80 curses, and it's funny in real life. I don't curse very. Geoff knows me. I don't curse very much. But I was so offended by the nonsense that was put out there, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I poor Mike K. Mike's a friend of Geoff and I felt, and I give him credit for stepping up and squashing that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just, folks, if you just had to understand what we have to shoot down. When I was at ESPN, we would get emails from our editors. Any chance you could check on this? And we had to do it because it's our job. I mean, you didn't want our editors to have to deal with it. And I text the GM or whoever I needed to text, and they go, "Why are you asking me this?" And it was embarrassing. I'm like, "I'm sorry, man, that my editor is asking me. I really apologize." It's like you feel sheepish to even ask. But I'll tell you, it's funny though when it turns out to be true. Remember when Lane Johnson failed his first drug test? And I remember it was not a reporter; it was like some guy who had a contact I know for a fact with the Eagles. Who just the guy doesn't do reporting. I was like this, and I remember thinking, you know what? I had heard this might have happened, so it was true, but these rarely are true, and it's really bad when you have to actually. Geoff knows because he's had to do it his whole career. When you have to check on this stuff, and you go, you're just embarrassed to even ask, and you go, and you have to call the agent, and the agent go, "Why would you?" Same response to GM would go, "Why are you asking me this?" I'm like,
I felt like there was a 5-year span where I had to do that for every single wide receiver who had a name, whether it was Plexico Burris or Larry Fitzgerald, or
by the way,
which almost happened.
That one was great.
Bolden.
I had a running joke with Reuben Frank, and it might have been you too. I said, "No, Reuben answers the Plaxico questions." This is a Plaxico.
We were assigning him. That's right.
Right? Was he in jail or not in jail for the gun? I can't remember.
I don't even remember at that point.
But
I do remember that it got so bad that whenever there would be like a cap casualty where somebody of some kind of name value would be cut. Invariably, one or many of us would go to Twitter and just write in all caps, "No!" exclamation, 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 before we got the onslaught of questions. Do you think the Eagles should get? Do you think the Eagles should get?
Right, exactly, right. But
I mean, the guy could have been like a 5-time murderer and he made the Pro Bowl. Like, hey, the guy's fresh out of jail.
Fantasy football for the fans. I get it, but folks. I know for the parents out there listening, and if you're listening with their kids, I do apologize. There's no way you would have known I was going to curse like that, but I'm not going to apologize for being passionate. I'll try to clean it up. In fact, I will. I won't do this again.
I hope not.
But I know. And Geoff didn't know it was coming. I didn't know it was coming. I just let it fly.
Man, it's like a softball to me, brother. I'm serving them up to you.
In my life, I don't get to curse. I mean, not that I should be cursing, but I really don't curse anymore. And it's kind of funny when I talk to coaches, they curse all the time, and I kind of laugh. I'm like, man, I don't talk like that. No, I do tonight. I'm like,
it's hard. Like you get immersed in that culture where you are talking to guys and they're dropping them left and right, and you're like, yeah, F yeah,
exactly, right. And then when I see it on Twitter, like I shake my head and I go, oh God, the poor beat reporter who's got to go chase this.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not you.
Now, how old's your mom again? 90, you said?
Yeah, no.
She hears that.
I know I'm incorrigible. I know she's called me incorrigible for my whole life. I know it. I get it. I'm worthless, but what can I do?
All right, let's close on this as we talk about positions
for an hour. Talk about nonsense for half an hour, folks. I'm sorry.
I think people are actually going to enjoy this personality-driven podcast. It's nice.
This is the way Geoff knows this part about me. That not my cursing, but a very passionate.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't want to talk a lot. Sometimes if something pisses me off, I talk too much.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Should I tell them about your hypochondria too?
Yeah, well, that's folks. All right, real quick, and
what did I snore a little bit loud? And the next night at the combine, you got your earplugs out.
Right. I stick with earplugs. I have to because I can't fall asleep unless I have them. No, but what happens on planes? My wife and I have this running joke because she knows it's coming. Coughers and sneezers always seem to be around me, and I'm one of these people who look back at people like, could you be more rude and not cover your mouth? I mean. Use your elbow or you don't use your hand, use your sleeve. And I look at people and now people won't be looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm someone who does not get sick. I just don't. I get a cold once a year. Now, my wife and I don't have kids like you do, so I don't get sick, but I am crazy. And when I was at ESPN, I could not get sick. And that was part of it. But my dad, passed away in 2013. He got me on this kick, and that's why, God bless him.
Yeah.
He really didn't get sick until he got cancer.
Well, you are like the Energizer Bunny, man, especially with all the, guys you have to talk to on the phone every single day all week. So we can't have you get sick. Absolutely.
No, but Geoff, how late do you stay up every night?
Too late. Probably like 12:30.
How tired are you when you get up?
Oh man, I am exhausted because I get up, when we're not sequestered like this in quarantine, I usually get up about 10 to 7.
Okay, that's not too bad at all. Jeez. But if you're going to bed at 12:30.
Yeah, it is. If you're going to bed at 12:30, yeah.
So think about this. When I was at ESPN, I would go to bed if I had to talk to Raiders or Niners or Seattle at 2 o'clock. If I had the 7 a.m. Sports Center, I had to get up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock. I can't hang like that. You're younger than I am. I can't hang. Like at the combine when you and I were hanging, I struggled. I forced myself to stay up till 1 o'clock. You remember,
though, you were there 4 nights ahead of me, I don't know if I would have
struggling, man.
I was ready to go home that last night. By the way,
I had my Umpka. These are cold tablets that I take to make sure I don't get sick.
Uh-huh.
And I had my my Todd Herman's body check wellness stuff, which I take with me all the time.
That's awesome.
And I care about being healthy, man. I don't want to get sick. And obviously what's going on in our country, folks, please take care of yourselves. We're being human tonight.
Yeah, and you're right. I'm going to lightheartedly call you Adam the Pharmacy Caplan.
Yeah. But I don't have a bag like a lot of people. No, I just have a couple things with me. I don't have a lot of stuff.
No, you're not like Romanowski.
Romo? Yeah, Romo, yeah. But no, I'm as we digress in this silly podcast. But so that's it. So position-wise, before we get out of here, the
one thing I wanted to ask you about offensive line was
folks.
the fact that no, listen, I think they're appreciating this. Offensive tackle Jason Peters remains out there.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, I feel like this is like really going to test Howie and his commitment to getting younger, but the price probably keeps dropping on JP to be out there this long.
Geoff, and I wrote about this in our Ask ITB. He made it clear he didn't want to come back as a backup. Well, You know what? There's a saying with agents. It's kind of funny. A bunch of agents will say we have to come back with our hat in our hand, which means obviously we need a job. Could you pay us? That's a term that agents use. Well,
right.
Peter and the Eagles love Jason personally. He's not starting. Howie Roseman kind of made that clear. He said, that Dillard's got to play. He's got to play in every interview that Howie's done.
Yes.
So I think he's made it clear, Geoff. You would agree with me. Dillard's starting. If Jason comes back, but I'm going to throw this back to you. Can he play left tackle or guard? I mean, right tackle or guard?
I think he could. I think Jason Peters is talented enough to not, and pardon me for being a little critical here, whine about having to play right tackle when he's been a left tackle all of his life, or even have to play left guard, which, man, that would be, Peters at left guard right there. I don't know what you do with Sayamalu, though, because he's been.
No, he's starting. Isaac's starting. If Jason comes back, he's a backup.
He's got to be a swing. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think Jason can play any position other than center.
Okay.
Now. And it wouldn't shock me if he could play center.
Okay. Here's another one for you. Jordan Mailata.
Yeah.
Mailata is. I was trying to put it in the. You could read it about Jordan. He's healthy. And he could back up at right or left tackle. Would you, going forward, let him be the swing and not sign a veteran?
No. There's no way if I'm Howie Roseman, I'm going into September or whenever the season picks up or whenever training camp picks up without a veteran swing offensive lineman. They're easy to get. They're not expensive. There's probably 5 or 6 of them that are going to be released between now and the end of the draft anyway, and the beginning of camp. Now, we're not talking about a player who's going to be exceedingly good, of course, but, you could say that about Steph Wisniewski. There were times he got in there and played well. There were times he got in there and you understood why he was always a journeyman. So there's somebody of that caliber that they can go and get, and I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Okay. Then they could use, so that's offense. Well, we know they need 2 or 3 receivers, a number 2 running back. I mentioned they're not on Spencer Ware, but that would be a smart signing because he's a good backup running back who could catch the football. Mm-hmm. He's not old at all.
What about you think they would take a shot on Devontae Freeman if it wasn't a lot of money?
He had the only thing he has is injury history. You notice in this free agency, the Eagles have stayed away other than the kid Brown, but they're not paying him at all.
At this point, you're only looking for a guy who's going to
That'd be a great signing. I'll tell you what, that's a good one. I hadn't thought about him because of his injury history.
Yeah.
If he's willing to be a backup, the thing I like about him, he's young enough that you still think he's got 2 years left in him. That if Miles Sanders got hurt, he could be the guy. That's actually a great one. That's way better than my research. I should have brought that up. I'm going to check on that one.
Out there made me think about it.
I'm going to check on that one. That's a great one. Mm-hmm. I had not heard that they're on him, but that makes a lot of sense. Defensively, Geoff, they need to add 1 to 2 DNs.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be one's got to be a veteran. We went over this last week. They are thin on depth. They have. Because if you really look at it right now, if you're the Eagles, if you're being honest with yourself, who do they really have? Because Vinny Curry is not under contract.
Correct.
Who do they really have? I mean, Josh Sweat did enough. He definitely improved last season. But do you trust him?
I mean, you're talking about the same, Jernard Avery, Josh Sweat, Sharif Miller, who never even played last year, maybe Joe Osman, although I can't see Avery and Osman both being
Osman doesn't even count. He didn't even play last year.
Right.
Yeah. Like yes, he would have made the team. We put this out like 2 weeks in training camp. Said, folks, he's making the team. There's a man love for this guy. Too bad he tore his ACL. The other guy, Hall tore his ACL.
Right.
There's not a guy that you could go in with as a backup and say, I trust this guy.
No.
Sweat showed me a lot. He needs to improve. I'd rather bring Vinny Curry back, draft a guy, and be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm
with you on
that plan.
I don't know if they're going to draft a guy. I just don't know if it's strong enough that you're going to waste a 5th or a 4th, 5th, or a 6th when you have this many numbers at the position. So, but we'll see. Okay. You never know. A guy could be ranked high enough and fall down and do that. So,
next question: linebackers. They're unbelievably thin. They only have 5 on the roster.
Yeah, they got to get another linebacker.
Well, they have to add 2. And based on looking at this thing,
right?
Nate Gary's going to start for now. TJ Edwards should start in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Jatavis Brown, their hope is he starts on opposite Gary.
Well, yeah, when they're in the rare case that they're in a 3 linebacker formation,
right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we should really be talking. Their nickel is really.
I don't consider the weak guy a starter anymore. We consider.
Yeah, so the 2 guys are going to be in the field. Is Gary's going to be one of them.
Right.
Could be Jatavis Brown because he's athletic.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like a developmental guy in the draft. If they have more than 10 picks, absolutely, they're going to draft one.
Yeah.
You can't go to training camp with less than 7.
Right.
You'd like it to be one guy who's played before in the league and one rookie.
They do have a guy whose name is eluding me that they signed.
Singleton.
Yeah, Alex Singleton. That's right. He's there. He's a good special teams player.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, didn't they sign somebody to a futures after the year that was on a different team from the Chargers or something? Nah, maybe not.
No, the corner. You're thinking Trevor Williams.
The corner. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Who we talked about. He's
somebody else.
Right. Trevor Williams, by the way, is a 4th or 5th corner at best, but he's got some upside. All right, that's linebacker. Safety, they got to add. They just added developmental one. I know that guy won't play a lot if he plays at all. But, folks, this Jalen Mills situation, we don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah, I don't see. I would say if they drafted a safety anywhere in the first 3 rounds, I would hope that he does play a lot.
Well, you would have to. Then you have to
at least the nickel and dime packages.
Yeah, you have to play some. Then after that, they got to add okay, they certainly have to add a corner on the outside. I don't think they could line up today without feeling good about it because they have 75 slot corners. Okay, it's a little bit of exaggeration. They have at least three. What's that?
Only slightly an exaggeration.
Yeah, exactly. But my sense is, Geoff, when you look at it, they know that they have to add an outside corner in the draft. I'm not saying what round that's going to be in, but they have to do that. What's your thinking there?
I think you're absolutely right. I think they have to address wide receiver, corner, and safety in no particular order with their first 3 picks. Now, I say that saying that I'm best player available. So I'm not advocating taking a bad player at any of those positions if your board says there's a better player. But I don't know how long you can go. People are tired of hearing me saying it. How long you can go without drafting a safety in the first 3 rounds? I mean, it's been since 2012.
By the way, folks, Geoff is being nice. He's probably pissed about this. Like we were doing a show,
complete neglect, and I don't understand.
We were doing it at WIP, right? We were doing it at WIP maybe a year or so ago, and I've seen Geoff mad before and pissed off. I don't know if you cursed, but you were like red in the face. You got so pissed off. I was kind of laughing. Like, I've never seen you this mad.
Well, if we were at WIP, I hope I didn't curse.
No. But again, we weren't on radio. You're right. We weren't doing the Saturday show. Right. We were doing our pod. And we're doing the show, and Geoff, like, I don't understand it. You were really, like, passionate, and he got all red.
They had 2 second-round picks last year, Adam. 2 second-round picks, and they went with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and I never understood that. There were some good safeties last year.
But let's see it play out.
It's not because J.J. didn't have a good rookie year. Even if he did, I'm just saying that there were good safeties on the board, and I'll never understand.
The Delaware kid, I don't know where they stood at him.
Yeah, the Delaware kid was on the board.
Nasir Adderley, yeah.
You know, was Thornhill still on the board in the second round? I thought he was.
Thornhill, I'm not sure. He unfortunately got
check. There were a couple of guys last year that I thought, the kid that the Saints got, I think in the third round, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a guy I thought could play. Yep. But 2 second-round picks, my friend.
Maybe this will be the year, but that's pretty much it for folks on the needs, and that's pretty much all we got. Sorry for the nonsense that we put out there for 15 minutes.
I'm telling you, I think people might appreciate that more than the linebacker talk.
Well, folks, what else do you have to really do anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, quite frankly, what are we doing? I mean, my wife is going bat stir crazy. I don't know about your wife, but my wife, I think she can handle it much longer. I treat it like traffic. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
What can you possibly? You can't. It's what we're dealing with is in a world, is in our communities. Go out and get exercise. My wife and I are walking, every other day, 2 to 3 miles.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of biking and walking too.
Good, nice. Yeah, that's right. You were doing biking.
We're getting out.
Is your wife working from home?
Yeah, she works from home a lot anyway. So because she's a big boss. So
how the kids doing? How the kids doing?
Well, that's for another podcast.
Sorry, man.
I don't want to leave this thing on a bad note. We've had a good time. Nah, they're good. Okay. They're hanging in there. They're enjoying some elements of it. Some of it, they're one of them is so young in kindergarten. I don't think she really totally grasps everything that's going on, and it's cool to be home. But the older one is definitely getting a little bit of cabin fever. I can tell. So
got it. All right.
We'll see how long it goes.
Yeah, I know. Who knows?
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Inside the Birds. Of course, the leading podcast in Eagles intel and now personality development.
And Caplan curses 17 times.
The Eagles lead, the leading podcast in Caplan curses.
I'll never hear the end of this. Yeah, go ahead.
We thank our friends at 97.3.
Come after me on Twitter. I get it. Go ahead. I deserve
definitely. 97.3 ESPN. Mike Hill show from 2 to 6. So make sure you're downloading their free mobile app at 97.3ESPN.com. Thanks to Hunter Brody and his page. You can check him out, Sports Talk with Broads on YouTube. Check him out on Twitter at Broads81. Did I get that right? Yeah, at Broads81. Yeah. And check us out also, please, our YouTube page, Inside the Birds YouTube. Please subscribe. We're getting up there. We're close to a target number, so the more subscriptions we can get, the better. And also be on the lookout because I think we're going to be invading the Facebook space pretty soon for Inside the Birds, so that'll be fun too. All right, as always, we thank you for flying with us Inside the Birds. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free. That's right, you don't need a premium account. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcast so you never miss an episode. You can download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are. You can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with social media platforms like Instagram. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. Just search for Inside the Birds on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, Geoff Mosher, so you never miss an episode of Inside the Birds. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to for podcasts too.